Jumpin In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. And here we are again, tempus fugit, as they say, and it's already Saturday night again, which is good news, realistically, albeit for the passage of time, but it means it's 9 o'clock. It is Jumping In, the best in modern and contemporary jazz, with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, welcome along to this week's show. Can you believe it? We're at the end of the first quarter already. Where does the time go? We must all be having so much fun that it has flown. Or it could just be we're working too hard to notice. Still, don't worry, the kids break up in a couple of weeks, and those of you who forfeited chocolate for Lent can count the days until chocolate excellence, as Easter's just round the corner. So, H, what's been getting you worked up this week? The swing in the Scottish Parliament elections, or the bop that Boris will get for the party that never was? And what are you saving till playtime?
I've got a love sonnet for Billie Holiday, not personally, but courtesy of VJ Iyer and friends. Heading to the Antipodes, at least drum-wise, and swings and roundabouts, and a great new one from Bobo Stenson.
And for me, we look back with clarity, we draw our punchlines, we're clock-watching for a birthday girl, and to start, we have a departure. I'm sure many of you were saddened as I was to hear of the passing of the great clarinetist and saxophonist Tony Coe at the age of 88. A modest and understated player, Tony won the Jazzpar Prize back in '95 and was the first non-American to win the award, regarded as the Nobel Prize of the jazz world. He recorded with Bob Brookmeyer leading the Danish radio joke band, and here he is, and, well, I'll let him explain.
Captain Coe is no relation to me. He's a tipster, a racing tipster. Used to write for the Daily Mirror, I think. And a few years back when my mother was having memory trouble, my father, who was very inventive in an eccentric way, used to use whatever was available, you know, he's one of those people, he's very economical, and he made a sort of a toy roundabout with about 7 or 8 horses, different names and different colours. He would spin it, and a horse would stop on or near an arrow, and he would ask my mother to what colour it was, and she'd say, red. No, it's not, it's blue. And then you try again, yellow. No, it's black. You know, well, sometimes she might have got it right, but anyway, he always liked to name things, and he called this device Captain Coe's famous raceabout.
Captain Coe's famous Raceabout, as Tony Coe clearly announced. Yeah, the album track, the album title, and every reference to it refers to it as the famous Captain Coe's Race Around. You decide. A lovely warm player with a generous personality, he started working professionally at the age of 17, spent some 3 years with Humph, turned down a seat with Count Basie, worked with the Kenny Clark Francie Boland Big Band, Derek Bailey's Free Group Company, Johnny Dankworth, Mike Gibbs, Dizzy, Getz, the list goes on and on. But maybe people remember him more for perhaps either that solo on the Pink Panther theme on all but the first film, and the sax on John Martin's Solid Air. He's also on Norma Winston's lovely album Somewhere Called Home, which I think I'll bring you another time. A great inspiration and teacher to Tom Garland, who along with ranks of others has written really moving tributes. R.I.P. Tony.
Yeah, indeed, fine player. And Canterbury Tales is the one I always remember. I think I've got a copy of that and a couple of others, Tony's at home. But as you said, as we were listening, still sounds fresh as paint. That really good. Really good. Here's one that came out about a year or so back, nowhere near as old as that one, which is a love sonnet for Billie Holiday. It caught my eye, and I meant to check it out and never got round to it, and then spotted it the last time I was down in the great jazz emporium, which is Ray's. Still going. It's changed hands, but we keep our fingers crossed that it will keep going one way or another, because there's not many jazz specialists left in the smoke these days, sadly. A fascinating lineup. Wadada Leo Smith on trumpet, Jack DeJohnette on drums and percussion, Vijay Iyer at the keyboard. And it's a really nice mix of some electronics, some straight, quite free, some more ensemble pieces going together. Nice use of electronics, some recordings as well, and also a little bit of Hammond, I think. Rocket, the last piece off the album, a love sonnet for Billie Holiday, with, like I said, Wadada Leo Smith on trumpet there, percussion and drums from Jack Jeanette and VJ Iyer playing keyboards, and Hammond organ on that particular track as well. Very effective I think he is on that, but a fine pianist as well. It's come out of a sort of an idea, a sort of a dream project, according to Wadada Leo Smith. Working with the pair of them, being something that had been around, an ensemble practice piece introduced in the music of Anthony Braxton. And he's played with anyone at some stage. A cracking idea, a lovely piece. There's a great piece of modern art on the front cover as well, if you like your modern art, and there's a close, I think, link between modern jazz and modern art in many ways. VJ Iyer himself, I think you know about Jack Jeanette, Wadada Leo Smith, again, more on the fringes, but a fine player. You don't hear him as often as the other two, but has been in all sorts of categories. But VJ Iyer is another one of those overachievers in many ways, you think. Described as composer, pianist, bandleader, producer, pedagogue and writer based in Harlem. Fantastic. Lord knows how many albums he's featuring on, and he's got out under his own name. Started playing piano by ear, did a BS degree in mathematics and physics at Yale University in 1992, went on to Berkeley, where he attained an MA degree in 1994, pursued a doctorate in physics, and then, whilst he was playing the piano as well, he left Berkeley Physics Department and has since received an interdisciplinary PhD degree, if I can say it, in the cognitive science of music from the University of California in Berkeley. Yeah, you get the gist. He's a smart cookie and a fine player as well. It's a fascinating album, well worth checking out. A love sonnet for Billie Holiday is on Tum.
Yes, and it's sometimes doing these programmes you feel, what on earth have I been doing with my life? Yes, how did I waste time for something, missed out on all those things? Now, don't say you never get variety on this show, and we try to take you down different little crooks and alleyways that you may never have explored musically, that is. Next from me, the title track from a new release from Swedish bassist Anders Jorman, known maybe for his work with Bobo Stenson, Charles Lloyd, and of course Thomas Stanko. On his latest release, he melds Scandinavian poetry with Japanese and Chinese texts, along with prose by Renaissance poets. Tech rock. I bet you can't best the band lineup. See if you can work out the instrumentation. Here's Pasado en Claro.
Som blivit till luft. Som en spiral av ekon, dikten, luft som mejslas ut och skingras, mina svärmande tecken. Irrande republiker av djur och innebörder. Som duckren i glöd hörs stegen inom mig skrida mot platser som blivit till luft, som regn i glöd, i glöd.
Well, did you guess?
No, is it something like the Cora or something like that, is it? Or
It sounds a bit like that, doesn't it, actually? Bassist Anders Jorman of the
Harp, Cora.
title track Harp, I thought also wrong. Well, not exactly wrong. With his recent ECM release, Pasado en Claro, the past is clear. Well, what's certainly clear is the global influences felt on this recording. Vocalist Lena Wilmark, he's worked with over a number of years, but also on violin and viola. Karin Nagakwa on 25-string koto. That's a full-size version of a koto. Koto, like a zheng, it's a Japanese traditional table harp with a row of offset diagonal bridges running down the middle, and they're tuned pentatonically. I only know this because I have a student one. And John Folt on drums and composition. Fascinating project with a unique voice of its own, I think, quiet, ethereal and mystical at times. Out now on ECM, and thanks very much to Crossover Media for sending us a copy.
Indeed, where would we be without them? Zach and friends, wonderful stuff. Always appreciate your help, and so much good music heading our way. It's difficult to know how to fit it in, which ones to go for. We could do with 2 hours rather than one every week, and even then we wouldn't get it all in. Speaking of which, we'll stay with Anders Jorman because you were mentioning Bobo Stenson, and after being silent for a few years, he has a brand new one out as well on ECM. It's called Sphere. It features Anders Jorman again, as it has done for years in that trio, long-standing bassist with Bobo on piano, and Jan Felt, wonderful slow motion almost drummer. Every beat counts on drums and percussion, and they sound a bit like this. This track's called Spring. laid back, spacious, wonderful. I really enjoyed that. Spring from Bobo Stenson and his trio's new album on ECM called Sphere. Bobo on piano, Anders Hjorman double bass, and the great Jan Felt on drums and percussion. He's like a sort of 21st century Jan Christensen, I think, in many ways, and again has that great ability to play at incredibly slow tempos and still make it sound effective, not just like he's sort of falling off his drum stool. Everything's placed beautifully in space. With Anders Hjorman, this trio, they've been active for almost 2 decades now. Amazing, yeah, almost 20 odd years, and they've done 4 albums, including this one, starting out with Cantando in 2008. Bobo himself says, we don't really have a way of playing ready-made, things just crystallise in the moment, and we adjust to that. It's the quintessence of the music and the joy of playing together. We never do the same thing twice, and to be determined about that. Recorded at the Auditorio Stelio Molo in Lugano, apparently, which has some really distinctive acoustics which play into the trio's sound, that lovely spacious sound. And if you like your jazz chamber style, that is one for you, just out on ECM. Came out on the 17th, I think, of this month. And again, check it out. Not in the car, though. Pour yourself something nice and sit back and either put headphones on or listen to it in your speakers at home. If
there was one effect which would be classified as ECM's go-to, it would be natural reverb from big spaces and fantastic rooms. Next from me, and you could say that we're satisfying our bass desires this week, another track from a bassist, this time the contrapuntist Clovis Nicholas, born in Abidjan. I need new teeth today. Abidjan on the Ivory Coast, but he was raised in France and perhaps best known for his work with Brad Meldau or the Belmondo Quintet, but in this instance it's him with the Ulysses Quintet, more of which after Sketch of a Scherzo 2. Clovis Nicholas with the Ulysses Quartet and sketch of a scherzo 2 taken from his recently released album The Contrapuntist. That's better. And very good it is too, but who are the Ulysses Quartet, I hear you cry? Well,
Who are the Ulysses Quartet?
Well, good crying. Yes, as it happens, you didn't hear them there. They are a world-class string quartet, as this album is a double quartet album. Side 2, if you have vinyl, is the original string quartet offering Le Miroir in 5 movements, and the first side is a jazz suite based on the structure of the classical work he composed and is given a thorough workout by a quartet of A-listers there, I think. Jeremy Pelt on trumpet, Sullivan Fortner on piano, Bill Stewart on the drums and Clovis on bass. The Contrapuntist is available now on Sunnyside Records, and thanks very much for them for sending us a copy.
Hello, this is Bugge Wesseltoft, and you're listening to Jumpin In at manxradio.com.
Hello, I'm Magnus Öström, and you're listening to Jumpin' In at Manx Radio.
Couple I've been really enjoying of late. That one was from the album Swings and Roundabouts. Mark Lockett, the fantastic New Zealand drummer, recorded in New York, and he thought about it during lockdown. He said, really inspired by Allnet's cordless recordings, and he went out and recorded that one. Brilliant, really enjoying that one. David Binney on tenor, Dwayne Eubanks trumpet, Matt Penman bass, and Mark on drums. And before that, the latest from Rimden with the Cork K-O-R-K Orchestra. Fantastic sound, amazingly Rimden sounding more and more like EST as the years go by, I think, and with the orchestra adding some extra texture as well. They beautifully meld together. I haven't really explored that one as much as I need to yet, but again, I'll certainly be listening to more of that this very weekend.
And thoroughly nice fellas too. We've had a chat with them in the past and no doubt may well again in the future. Well, that's about it for this week's show, but before we go, there's just time for the birthday girl, as promised in this case, Japanese keyboard whiz Hiromi, who is 44 today. She's on tour at the moment in Norway tonight, then next stop Germany if you're about, equally at home with with jazz, rock and classical. In fact, her latest tour combines solo piano gigs and with a string quintet. But we'll leave you with a track from her 2007 album Time Control with her quartet Sonic Bloom. David Fuczynski, I can't speak today. Fuczynski on guitar, Tony Gray on bass, Martin Valiora on drums, and on piano and Rhodes, Hiromi. As you say, H, sometimes she's a bit frenetic. Well, this may be one of those times. Here's Time Control, or Controlled by Time. See you next week.
Look after yourselves.
Bye for now.